Welcome. I have Andrei Mincov with me today. He's the founder and CEO of Trademark Factory. This is the only firm in the world that can help you trademark your brands with a free comprehensive trademark search. Wow, big words, big words. I'm going to have to ask Andrei to explain this a little bit better. But you know what? He moved here from Russia 10 years ago and gave up basically being a lawyer to do what he's doing today. So I'm very, very excited to hear more this story, why Andrei is doing this. So welcome, Andrei, to the podcast, The Solo Business and Life.
Thank you for having me over. Really excited to be a part of this, and let's do this.
Let's do this. So tell me, why are you doing this? Why did you leave, because being a lawyer probably was pretty exciting, I would assume, and now you're doing the trademarking. So what happened?
Well, it's kind of several stories in one, but the first part of the answer is that 10 years ago, me and my wife and our 4-month-old kid, we went to Czech Republic for a 5-day vacation. And we were blown away how quickly Czech Republic switched from being a socialist nightmare into a normal, happy capitalist country. And we looked at each other and realized that not only wasn't Russia close to being there, it wasn't even going in that same direction. So again, we looked at each other and said, you know what, let's get the hell out of there. And we did some research and realized that Canada would be, the easiest place to get into. So that was one part of the equation. The second part of the equation was at that time I was working for the biggest international law firm as a lawyer, and pretty much responsible for all of their copyright related issues, for intellectual property issues related to domain names, and in their Moscow office. And it so happened that the managing partner of the Moscow office, she was a Canadian. I mean, she still is a Canadian. She's just no longer a managing partner. And she wanted to talk to me, and she offered her help. And I got to her office, and she says, well, I heard you're planning to move to Canada. I'm like, yep. And she says, do you know that you'll have to go back to law school if you want to be a lawyer? I'm like, no, are you kidding me? Because at that point, I had 13 years of experience as a lawyer. I had my PhD in law, and spent years and years doing this high caliber work for firms like Microsoft, Apple, DreamWorks, all the big names you can think of. I've probably done something for them. Google, Microsoft, Google.
It's okay. We can still hear you.
You still hear me? I just had everything black, and I've been having some issues with my computer, so I'm just trying to figure out what's going on. And I'm like, did we lose each other? So sorry about that.
That's okay.
So Apple, Google, Facebook, all those big names, and like, really, I have to go back to law school? And I thought she said that just because she didn't want me to leave the firm. I said, well, you're welcome to do your own research. And I did. And I realized that, yes, she was right. I have to go back to law school. And so when I came to Canada in 2007, lo and behold, I had to go back to law school. Actually, I wrote all of my exams while still in Russia, got accepted to a bunch of law schools, and picked one which I thought would give me the best opportunity to do what I want, and spent 3 years going to law school again, which was a very interesting experience. And honestly, as much as I thought initially that this was all a joke, probably 6 months in, I realized that was a good decision that I did go back to law school, because my assumptions about how common law system works, how Western or North American legal system works, were completely wrong. And I had to reteach myself a lot of new approaches. And it took some time, probably maybe not 3 years, but certainly 2 years. And at the end of that process, when I got my graduation papers that said, okay, I can now be a lawyer in Canada, I sent out a bunch of resumes all across the country and got the grand total of 0 interviews, nothing.
Wow.
And this was probably the most frustrating time of my life. I've really never had the situation when I had to chase for work, when I had to, take so many efforts to prove to people that I'm worthy of their attention, right? And what I compare this to usually is, Rambo 1 movie, when at the end of the movie he goes, back in Vietnam, they trusted me with $1 million equipment, and here I can't find a job parking cars, right? That's exactly how I felt, right? After, helping all of those massive clients with their intellectual property issues without any supervision, right? I would write directly to the client. Here, I couldn't find somebody who would trust me to review a $500 agreement. I'm like, really? And that's when I discovered the book by Robert Kiyosaki, Rich Dad, Poor Dad, which launched me on my entrepreneurial journey. And I started my own law firm. At that point, I was still looking at myself as just a lawyer, right? And started my own law firm. And very quickly, I realized that my success would have nothing or very little to do with my abilities as a lawyer and my brilliance as a lawyer, and everything to do with my abilities as a marketer and a sales guy. Basically, it became very clear very soon that without clients, I don't have a business.
That's right.
And then the real journey began, because I started this transition from an intellectual property lawyer with entrepreneurial mindset to being an entrepreneur who knows a thing or two about intellectual property. And that journey was going on and on and on. And then in 2013, I came up with this idea of Trademark Factory. At that point, all it was is a name, which I thought was great, and just some marketing ideas how to make Trademark Factory stand out from everyone else who does trademarks. And that idea picked up. That became a viable business model, so much so that last year in 2015, I voluntarily gave up my lawyer license in Canada. So basically, that is which I worked so hard to get, right? 3 years of my life getting a lawyer license. I gave that up voluntarily because I realized that, as ironic as it is, in order for me to help more people get their trademarks registered the way they want to get them registered, I cannot be a lawyer. So I gave that up, and I'm still acting in my capacity as a trademark agent. But the cool thing is, ever since I gave up my lawyer license, we had 5 best quarters in a row. We just had our best month ever in November. And I'm not looking back, because what I see is that I'm a lot more useful in my capacity of building systems, building processes, creating creating systems that allow the Trademark Factory business to work and operate with a team. We now have a team of 10 people, and collectively we can do so much more than just Andrei being a lawyer in a traditional sense.
Wow, you know what you just shared. First of all, congratulations to going through all these hurdles and make it out as a winner, because that's awesome. But you share something so important in your story, something that is so common to many, many entrepreneurs, right? And actually, we share a lot of things in common. I'm not a lawyer, but hey, I came the same year to Canada as you did. And out of frustration of nobody hiring me with my education that I was qualified to do before for 8 years, I said, I'm just going to start my own business. I'm just going to create my own job. And so did you. And I think lots of entrepreneurs does the same thing, right? Because they can't find something that would really match them, or they can't even find a job, what they're qualified for. They start their business. So thanks for sharing this. I think it's going to be very inspiring for many people listening to this podcast. I also know, because I heard you speaking just, a short while ago, and that there's a story behind why you even went into this business with your father, correct?
Yeah, yeah,
Can you tell us about that?
it's quite something. In fact, yeah, just 5 days ago, he would have been 72 years old. In fact, unfortunately, he passed away 4 years ago. So this is really personal to me. Everything I do really is has some connection to this, to him, because ever since I was 5 years old, I was on stage with him singing his songs. He was a famous composer in Russia. He wrote music for over 160 movies, and many of them were for children. And I would go about and sing with him on stage, and we had a few even TV appearances and stuff like that. And um, because of him, I got into music, and I still love music a lot. And then when I was 19 years old, I was attending my Russian law school. I was still living in Russia then. And um, that's when he heard his music that he wrote for one of the children's films on the radio advertising Samsung without his permission. And he called the radio station and said, you can't take my music without my permission and make an ad out of that. And what's worse, not even pay me anything. You just can't do that. And they told him to sit down, shut up, and be grateful that by using his music in the ad, they're making him more famous. Right? And if you knew my father, he was very emotional, and he didn't need a lot of time to go from all smiles to being like, ah! Right, so you'd know right away he didn't like that answer very much. He didn't like it at all. So he said, okay, I'll see you in court. He slams down the phone, and at that time you could actually slam down the phone. It was a long time ago. And he came to me and asked, so can you help me with this case? Can you help me sue the radio station for copyright infringement? Like, you're a law student, you're supposed to know this kind of stuff. And I didn't know anything about it. And really, even though I was going to law school, it was my second year out of 5 of law school there. I had no desire to be a lawyer, right? I just wanted to be a rock star. I wanted to be a musician. And because I was so inspired by him, and really, every son, right? You wanted to get your father's approval, and you do things to make them happy. So I said, sure, let's give this a try. Especially so much so that the song that the radio station stole was actually one of the songs that I used to sing with him. Oh. Right. And so I said, sure, let's try that. And to me, the biggest problems with that were actually, there was 3 problems with that. One is that I had no idea about intellectual property. I didn't even know that there were laws designed to regulate this kind of stuff, right? I just didn't know. And second, I didn't know what to do in a courtroom. They didn't teach us that yet, because even though it was my second year in law school, they spent these 2 years going through some theory and just some general stuff that had no practical application. And my biggest problem was that there was no Google back then. Right? You couldn't just go online and search how do you sue a radio station that stole your father's music. And so I had to figure all that out the old-fashioned way, by reading books and asking a lot of people a lot of questions. And we sued the radio station, and eventually, and ripped them apart in a courtroom. It was really very interesting experience. I really enjoyed this because I'm very competitive, right?
Mm-hmm.
I love winning, and I had a great strategy. I had a great speech. I wrote my speech like till 4 a.m. on that day of, and I'm a night owl. I've always been a night owl, and I remember writing that and just going over it and over it and over it, and I went there. I delivered my speech. I ripped them apart, and then what happened is the judge said, okay, I need to think about it. I will deliver my judgment in a couple of weeks, during which time radio station bought the judge. And by the time the judge delivered their decision, we lost. And the decision didn't make any sense at all. Basically, it said that the radio station stole my father's music. They didn't have the right to do that. But because they didn't have the right to do that, they also didn't have to pay. Like, it didn't make any sense at all. And I remember this moment as if it was yesterday, right? I was sitting in my room, reading that decision over and over and over again, trying to make any sense of that. And this is when my dad came into my room, and he says, so what are you going to do now? I'm like, I don't know. I think I did all the right things. I said all the right words. I have no idea what I should have done any differently. And we have this stupid decision, and that's it, I guess. And he says, well, if you're not going to appeal this, you should quit your law school and find yourself a different profession.
Oh, wow.
Right? That moment, that conversation is really what I think is the beginning of the formal beginning of my legal career. Right? We did appeal, we lost the appeal. We appealed it again, all the way one level below, from the Supreme Court of Russia, pretty much as high as it gets. That's my very first case, mind you, right? And we won. We won, and was sent back to the first instance court. We won there again. They appealed again. We won that appeal, and really, it took me two and a half years to go through the whole process, and we won. But what's really important for me there is that I saw what it does to you when somebody steals what you've poured your heart and soul into, right? As much as I love the pure logic of law, and I'm not really a touchy-feely person, right? I'm not. And really, one of the reasons I love intellectual property is because it's so technical, and because it's a lot less about the client coming to cry on your shoulder. I still saw what it does to you when somebody when somebody steals your stuff. I saw what it does to your focus. I saw what it does to your productivity. I saw what it does to your life. And it physically pains me to see when somebody with a great idea, with a great brand, with a great song, with a great something, that they get it stolen from them. So I became really passionate about this during these 2.5 years when I was helping my dad. And it so happened that it's been really the only thing I've been involved ever since.
Wow, what an amazing story. And by the way, congratulations on the win. That was a long journey, but you did it. That's awesome. So let's touch base now with your business, with what you're really doing for people, because I'm really interested, based on everything you've shared with me right now, and you know how painful it is that somebody steals your trademark. Does every business need a trademark?
No, no, but if it's a real business, then the answer is yes. So let me explain that. There are businesses, like when I started my law firm, for example, I couldn't come up with a better name for it than Mincov Law Corporation. And at that point, when I was starting it, the only reason I started is because nobody gave me a job and I didn't want to starve, right? At that point, I didn't see that as a business. It didn't take me long to actually realize the huge potential behind it. But the moment when I was starting it, to me, it was just a way to survive. And if your business is nothing more than that, if it's all about you, it's very personal, if there is nothing beyond you personally, maybe you don't even need that because the brand is not as important to you. But as soon as you realize that the business is not a hobby, that the business is actually something that will transcend you personally, you will very quickly understand that the brand plays a very important role in your success. Because one of the quotes that I use all the time, it comes from former CEO of General Electric, Jack Welch, who said, if you don't have a competitive advantage, don't compete. I think it's absolutely brilliant because really the world today is full of competition. It's great because that gives consumers better options, and it also pushes businesses to come up with something better, to come up with something new. And the only way you're ever going to be successful in that competitive environment is by having something that people can at least remember you by, and that is your brand, right? When I do my seminars, I often start them with, I dare you to think of one successful business without thinking of its brand. It's impossible, because really the one thing we think about when we think of a successful business is its brand, right? When we go and pick a car, we don't necessarily think of all the technical aspects of the car. We think, okay, what's the emblem? What's the name, right? When we pick a phone, right? When we pick all of our buying decisions, primarily are based on our knowledge of the brand. And that's the reason why all those companies treasure their brands more than anything else. And so at the point when you realize that actually I am in business, I am building something. You don't have to be as big as Mercedes or Apple, right, to get your trademarks. But as soon as you realize that what you're building is actually you are serious, that you're seriously trying to get your piece of the market, and that your customers recognize you through your brand, not just because you go to 10,000 networking events a year and just say hello to a lot of people who would only buy from you because they know you personally. But as soon as you realize that you're actually getting business from your online marketing efforts, from when you start to get business from strangers who find you through your brand, at that point, trademarking your brand is a must.
So you just answered my next question, actually. When should a business be considering trademarking a brand? So as you said, as soon as you start being recognizable, is that correct?
Well, actually, no. Early this year, I did some research to see when all the hottest startups filed their first trademark application. And that was, to me, a huge eye-opener. So I knew, obviously, that they all did it eventually. My question was when. And Uber, the $51 billion startup, right? They filed their first trademark application 2 months before they launched. Firefox, 2 months before they launched. Stripe, the credit card processor, 8 months before they launched. Google, same month. Facebook, same month. Periscope, same month. And here's my favorite. Airbnb, they filed their first trademark application the same time when the founder of the company was still renting out his own bedroom on Airbnb to pay for the overhead of the company. So they all did it before people knew who they were. They all did it before they were anywhere on the map, right? And they did it before they started getting all those sales. The reason they did it is because they believed that they're building something where the brand is going to be very important. They knew that what they're building could become the next big thing. They knew that what they're building would become that serious business where the brand would be important. And that's why they did it early. So the answer is not that you want to wait until you get to a certain point and then you do it. The answer is you have to have clarity in your mind as to what you're building. And I know that a lot of entrepreneurs, as Michael Gerber calls it, or the author of E-Myth, are just technicians with entrepreneurial seizure. That's what I was, right? We started the business because we think it's going to give us more time. Yeah, good luck with that. And we think that we're going to have a smarter boss, and we're not going to, we'll be able to do things our way. But a lot of us, when we start the business, we don't even understand what's behind that. So for those of us who start that way, yes, you do need to have this mindset switch when you're ready to realize, okay, it's no longer a job, it's actually a business. That's when you do it. But if you're doing it properly, if you're actually know right away that what you're building is a business, then you don't have to wait till you have X dollars in sales or Y, amount of clients. You do it as soon as you can, because it's a lot easier to protect the brand early before somebody has a chance to steal it from you. And we have this situation all the time, and it's another pet peeve of mine, because it really pains me, is that we would do the free trademark search for a client. We would create a report, would walk them through it and say, well, great news, your trademarks appear to be registrable. And the client would say, great, thank you, I need to think about it, because I need to, make sure that, my business is growing, So, okay, well, how much time do you need to think about it? Well, I'll probably need, 3, 4, 5 months. And we're just going to, make some more money. We're just going to get some more customers, and then I'll get back to you. And I'm like, you don't get it. With real estate, it's all about location. With trademarks, it's all about timing. And said, no. Well, I get it. I appreciate that. It's very useful, but give me some time to think about it. Okay. And then they would call me back, 8 months from that conversation, or a year. And often, not always, but often, we would tell them, okay, we need to do the search again, because the value of the search that we did for you 8 months ago is now 0, right? Because we don't know what happened since then. And we would do the new search and say, you know what was registrable 8 months ago is no longer registrable now. So we can't help you anymore. As much as I'd love to help you, that's it. You have to find a different brand. And the problem with that is not that we can't take their money for, to do their brand. The problem is not that they cannot trademark their own brand. The real problem is that now they have to rebrand. All of the time that they spent, all of their energy, all of the money that they spent promoting the brand that they didn't bother to trademark is now wasted, because they have to find a different brand and start everything all over again. Now they have to go back to their client base and say, you know what, we are rebranding from this to that. And it certainly was not worth it, especially, what I also noticed is that a lot of entrepreneurs, they don't realize how affordable trademarking really is. A lot of people think it's tens of thousands of dollars. It's not. I mean, it's not free. There is an investment, but it's nowhere as prohibitive as a lot of people think.
Wow, that's interesting. I'm just going through branding myself, so I know how much work it is. So it's probably it's really worth doing the research, going with you, protecting your brand, because it is a lot of work to do the whole rebranding and stuff.
And it's one thing when you do rebranding because you came up with a better brand and you voluntarily realize, okay, this is going to make me stronger. This is going to make me better. It's one thing. It's still painful because there's a lot of things you need to change. All the websites, all the links to your websites, all the business cards, all of your client, all of that. It's all your banners, all your marketing materials. It's one thing when you do it voluntarily. It's quite another when you do it because you have to.
I agree with that. Absolutely. Right. That's a huge difference. So listen, you're providing a really awesome service for entrepreneurs, and I want to make sure that they know where to find you, and just check in with you, because you just say you provide first the free search, right, for the brand, and then from then on you continue working with them. If that's correct?
Yeah. So remember when I said that I came up with the idea of Trademark Factory when I wanted to create something that hadn't existed before. I wanted to have an offer that would make it different from anyone else who does trademarks. And what I did is I surveyed 100 business owners and asked them what it is that they hated about dealing with lawyers, and trademark lawyers in particular. And they were all saying pretty much the same thing, that their biggest problem with lawyers was lack of predictability. They didn't know if what they were trying to get would go through. They didn't know how much it would cost, and they didn't know what would happen if it didn't go through. So looking at that, I'm like, okay, how can we reverse that? How can we eliminate all of those things that they didn't like about dealing with lawyers? And first thing we added was a free trademark search. So what we do is you give us the brand name that you want to trademark. It could be the name, could be the tagline, could be the logo, could be several options for us to look at. We're going to create the report. We're going to call you, walk you through the report, 45-minute call. All of that is free. So what this does is that it gives you clarity as to whether your brand is even trademarkable without you having to spend a dime. Because I know that it's a big hurdle for a lot of people, because they don't want to spend anything unless they know that it's going to get them somewhere, right? You don't want to spend $300 per trademark to be told that, unfortunately, it's a no-go, right? And that's what most firms charge. They charge $300 per trademark to tell you whether or not your brand is trademarkable. And look, I'm not saying that this service is not valuable. It is. It's worth the $300. It's just that psychologically, I don't think that a lot of business owners do this because they don't want to pay. Now, the second thing we came up with that made us different is a single all-inclusive flat fee. Again, the trademark process is the trademarking process has a lot of moving parts to it. There's a lot of variables. It can easily take 18 months, 24 months, and more. And what most firms do is that they would have a flat fee to file your trademark application, but everything from there, they start charging you by the hour. And you have no idea whether your trademark process will cost you $1,000 or $7,000. So what we came up with is flat fee that covers everything from start to finish, no matter how long it takes us. Whether it takes us 2 hours or 2,000 hours, your price doesn't change. And the third thing I came up with is 100% money back guarantee. If during the search I tell you that I think your trademark is registrable, if it doesn't go through, I think it's immoral for me to keep your money, because you decided to give me your business based on me telling you that I think it's registrable, right? If I tell you it's registrable, you give me your money, I can't deliver the result that I told you I will deliver for you. I think it's immoral for me to keep your money, right? To me, it's common sense, but apparently it's not common practice because nobody else is doing this.
Well, this is great ethics, and I like businesses with ethics, so thank you for doing that. So where can they find you? Can you give us your website address or the best contact information?
Yeah, so the easiest way to get started would be to go to trademarkfactory.com. And the first thing you're going to see, it's going to be staring you right in the face, is the form to request your free trademark search. And just start from there. And you're welcome to look at dozens of testimonials from happy clients who actually, it's funny because I write a lot of thank you notes to our clients. One of the things that I realized is that even though we get a lot of those testimonials, and I treasure each and every one of them, to me the best testimonial is when a client comes back for more trademarks, and we've just had several clients to do that. And I'm like, you know what? That's really the best testimonial. Thank you, and that's what goes in the thank you note. So, yeah. trademarkfactory.com or .ca, you can go to either. They both work.
Well, thank you so much. Thank you for being here with us today, sharing your amazing stories, very interesting stories, I have to say, and of course your expertise, and letting us know how important it is that we take care of our brands. So thank you so much, and wishing you all the best in your future journey.
Thank you so much for having me. It was a pleasure to be a part of this, and I hope that this helped your audience realize how important their brands are, and if it can help them protect them, we'll be happy to do that.
Absolutely. Thank you so much.